Bicentennial quarters can be worth a ton of money, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to look out for so you don't miss any of them. This is the only video you'll ever need to watch when it comes to the bicentennial quarter, so save it and let's hop right into this video. So the bicentennial quarter is a special commemorative quarter issued by the United States Mint in 1976 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the country's founding. This quarter was actually the first commemorative quarter in the US, and the series also included a bicentennial $50 and dollar coin. They produced 1.7 billion of these coins, and when they first started producing them, people thought they'd be incredibly rare, which again, some of them are, but I mean people were hoarding these coins in the thousands or tens of thousands back in the day. So what did the US Mint do? They produced more. Now what you need to know is that they produced 4 different types of bicentennial quarters, so pay attention. First we have the 1976 bicentennial design quarter with no mint mark. They produced over 800 million of these. Now if the coin does not have a mint mark, that means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Next we have a 1976 D quarter. You'll see that D mint mark on the bottom right hand side of the coin. That stands for the Denver Mint where this coin was produced, and there were over 860 million of these coins produced. Remember, the metal composition of these coins is about 92% copper and 8% nickel. Then we have the 1976 S Washington quarter bicentennial. That S mint mark stands for the San Francisco Mint where they're produced, and there were only just over 7 million of these produced. And lastly, we have the 1976 S that is 40% silver and 60% copper. There were only 11 million of these produced. So let's hop into some examples. Make sure you stick around. Some of these coins get very interesting, but this one right here is a 1976 S silver quarter. Now it's important to understand, as you can see on this label, it was graded by PCGS at a gem proof. Now proof just means the way that the coin was designed. There are coins that are meant for circulation, and then there are coins that are meant for collectors, and proof coins are typically just that. Now you can tell if you have a proof coin by the appearance. I'm going to show you an example right here of the difference between a normally issued coin and a proof coin. You can also see that this on the label, it says it was signed by the actual designer of the coin, Jack L. Ayer. What PCGS actually had done was they had the actual signature of the designer of this coin, which is a really cool feature. So because this is a proof coin, it was signed by Jack, the designer of the coin. This coin sold on eBay for $33. Now this coin right here is something that I actually really enjoy. So this coin sold on eBay. It had 16 bids, so I know that from what I'm looking at here, this is a genuine coin, and by that I just mean that nobody messed around and altered the coin. Sometimes there are people out there that will find a video like mine, see that these coins are bringing a lot of money, and they will try to manipulate or damage the coins to make them appear to be heirs worth more money. This one is a genuine heir that is showing some of that copper layer of the coin. So if you have a coin like this, it's likely worth getting graded, especially if it's in better condition than this. Now really quickly, what do I mean by grading? Well, there's 2 big companies called NGC and PCGS where you send your coin off to get graded. They will make sure that the coin and heir like this one is actually authentic and genuine. That way it'll give the buyer more confidence when buying a coin like this. Now it's important to know that it's not always worth sending your coin off to get graded, because sometimes if the coin is really cheap, you're going to spend more money on grading fees and shipping and all these things than the coin is actually worth. So make sure before you send your coin off to get graded, you know it's actually worth your time and money, because a lot of the time it's not. But this one I think might have been worth sending off because it sold for $65. Now this coin sold for $9,200. This is when it gets very interesting, guys. So this coin was graded by PCGS at a mint state 62. That means it has a little bit of nicks and gashes that occurred during the minting process. So remember, if your coin has small gashes on it, there's still a possibility that it is in high grade. But a lot of the time, guys, the ones that you guys are seeing or finding out in circulation are going to be lower grade because they went through other people's hands, which makes the grade lower. What you need to know is that if you come across a coin like this, you found something incredibly rare. Now, like I said before, there are some people out there that will try to get 2 coins and strike them together with a hammer to make them look like this. Although a third-party company like NGC or PCGS is going to know immediately if the coin is indeed genuine or not. This one just so happened to be struck on a dime planchet, which means a dime piece of metal before it gets struck. Regardless if this was intentional or not, it got out of the mint somehow into a collector's collector's hands, and they were able to profit from this, turning 25 cents into $9,200. So check out this coin. Something interesting about these coins is when they were producing them in 1975 and 76, the US was actually not intending them to go out into circulation. These coins were strictly meant to go into collections and not be spent. These bicentennial quarters were actually part of a bigger celebration in the US in 1976, which included parades, fireworks, and other events across the country. Not many people knew that. So this was a big deal, and not many people knew about these coins. But this coin right here is a great example of someone trying to sell it on eBay because they think they have something incredibly rare. So this person had a shipping cost of $5, and it was an auction, and there was only one bid for 50 cents. So this person was able to sell it for $5.50. What they probably did is they threw it in a plain white envelope, threw a stamp on it, and they made a few bucks off their coin. Now, in my opinion, the condition of this coin, there's nothing rare about it. It's just worth 25 cents in my opinion, but someone made about $4 off the coin. This coin sold for $12,000. So here's the thing. This one graded by PCGS as a Proof 67 Cameo. So as you can see, it's a very similar coin to the coin I showed you before, where the design looked all messed up. If you look on the left-hand side of the coin, you can see some serious breaks going on. That is because the hub that struck onto this planchet was not intended to be striking this small of a piece of metal. This one was double struck on a struck dime, which means somehow the coin did not get popped out of the hopper before it came down again and got struck twice, making this an extremely unique coin. On top of that, like I said before, this is a proof coin, which means it was meant to go in a collection. Again, like I've said, who actually knows if the people in the US Mint are doing this intentionally? Part of me thinks they are, but I do know of stories where people will find coins similar to this, either in collections or out in circulation. But a part of me likes to think that back in the day, there were some interesting people at the US Mint and they were trying to take advantage of something, or they were just having fun, not realizing that one day this coin would be worth $12,000. Or maybe they did, who knows? $1,500 for this coin. So let's go through the pictures here. So this person took some pretty good pictures. This is on an eBay listing. So if you are selling your coin on eBay, what I would recommend doing is taking some nice clear photos. That way the person buying them has a very good understanding of exactly what they're going to be buying. There are a lot of collectors out there that want to see what the coin looks like and what they're getting before they buy it. So this listing has 30 people watching it, and it is actually not sold yet, thankfully, because in my opinion, this coin is not worth $1,500. There are a lot of people out there, guys, that just do not know the true value of their coin. Please do not buy a coin like this, and do not try to sell it either, because one, you do not want to get scammed, and two, you don't want to scam anyone, because morally, I'm just not a fan of that. It's not a good thing. But pay attention, because we're going to go through some good coins here. Did I say good coins? This one sold for $1,500. This coin actually sold. Now the seller has zero feedback. This is always a big red flag. The more time you spend on eBay buying and selling, the more feedback you get. Now, most of the time I would advise against buying something from someone who does not have a lot of feedback, but everyone has to start somewhere. But do your own homework and research, because this coin definitely is not worth $1,500. As I pulled up this listing, I've realized that this coin sold for $1,700, and looking at the pictures, I do apologize. This is literally the same exact coin, but a different listing. So what happened here was, it looks like he sold the coin for $1,700, and then the person was bright enough to cancel their order, and then this person went ahead and relisted it for $1,500. So again, they sold it for $1,700 trying to scam someone. Either that or they just simply don't know the true value, and now they're trying to sell it for $1,500. But let's go to the next coin. $2,400 for this 1976 bicentennial quarter with no mint mark. They're saying it's in excellent condition, which I do see some nicks and gashes on it. This guy has 25 feedback, 100% positive, which is good. His pictures are not the worst whatsoever. I've definitely seen worse, but the big thing here is that there's nothing standing out to me that makes me realize the coin is actually worth money. So $2,400, hopefully nobody actually bought that because this coin is just worth 25 cents in my opinion. $8,050 for this bicentennial coin. So this is not a quarter, but I wanted to throw this one in here because this is a 1976 $1 bicentennial dollar that is accidentally struck on a 10-cent planchet, and it has a uniface reverse. The reverse means the back of the coin, uniface means one face. This one graded by PCGS at a mint state 64, and it sold for $8,050. So if you come across a coin that looks like this, you need to make sure that you're doing your homework and research before you sell it. Now, there are people out there, like I said, that will try to manipulate these coins to make them look like heirs when they're actually not. So it is important, in my opinion, to get at least the opinion of 3 different coin shops when you're shopping around trying to sell or buy. Now, if they all tell you the same thing, they're likely telling you the truth, so I would listen to them. But again, $8,050 for this Ike dollar that was struck on a 10-cent planchet. So here's a really nice looking coin. This is a 1976 S coin graded by PCGS at a proof 69. So you can see almost immediately how shiny and lustrous this coin really is. There is no better example of a proof coin than this one. I mean, you can look directly in this coin and see how shiny it actually is. Now you have to watch out because there are people out there that will try to get some sort of polishing material and make their coin look like a proof coin when in reality it is not. Proof coins you can typically buy directly from the US Mint. Proof coins are not the type of coin that you will find out in pocket change, but they are out there. But realize if you do find one out in pocket change, the chances are the condition's going to be pretty bad. But if you're hunting around for coins, it's always a fun thing to go after. Now here's the reality on this coin. You have to understand that if you're not a big time dealer, and by that I mean someone who's submitting hundreds or thousands of coins per month or per year, it's going to cost you a lot of money to get your coin graded. So what does that mean? If you spend the time and money and you're able to sell your coin only for $10 or $20, you're going to actually spend more money in grading fees. Now I don't want you guys to waste your money. This person right here probably broke even or only made a few extra dollars. This coin graded at a proof 69. That means it's only 1 point away from the perfect grade of 70. Now to put that into perspective, it is so challenging to get that 70 grade, it almost comes into a bit of luck. The difference between a 69 and 70 is something that a full-time professional grader is only going to really be able to tell you. Even then, it can be a bit subjective. So what you need to know is that this coin sold for $34 and they probably only made a few bucks. If that, they might have even broken even. But let's hop into the next coin. What a crazy looking coin. So this is what collectors call toning. Now toning is a naturally occurring oxidation process where the air will oxidize with the metals in the coin, giving it a crazy color like this. Now depending on where the coin is stored, what the air condition is, and a bunch of other factors will dictate what type of toning the coin will get. And also guys, this usually takes years to happen. This is not something that happens in a short amount of time unless there's a lot of chemicals or heavy particles in the air that will react with the metals in the coin. Now when I'm first looking at this toning, you have to understand that people will pay more money if the coin has toning. Now do keep in mind, toning only really matters for coins that are uncirculated. And by uncirculated, I mean they're in high grade and never passed people's hands. There are some lower graded coins that can still be worth money if they're toned, but the big thing that happens with toned coins is that it is very subjective when it comes to the value. Someone may look at this coin and say, wow, that's very beautiful, I want to pay more money, while the next collector may look at that and say, that's not natural, that's not something that I want in my coin when collecting, it's distracting. So you have two different sides of the spectrum looking at one coin. To be honest, when I look at this coin, it does not look naturally toned. I'll keep this very brief, but there are people out there that are chemists and they know what to do to make a coin unnaturally look like this. Now, if you were to send this coin off to get graded, I could almost guarantee you that they would not grade it because the toning looks questionable. It doesn't look so obviously bad where they could be certain it's altered, but at the same time, it's so dramatic that it would probably get flagged as questionable and not graded. Regardless, it's a cool looking coin, literally, because it's blue. Bad joke, I know. And this coin sold for $34. I won't spend too much time here, but there's $10 face value in these 40 coins. These are 40% silver coins. These are the type of coins that people want. You know, they want those 40% silver coins because silver just has more value than the other copper-clad nickel coins do. Now, this $10 of face value went into auction and it sold for $115. So yes, if you have brilliant uncirculated bicentennial quarter coins that are silver, they are worth some good money. So definitely hold on to any silver bicentennial quarters that you have. $9,000 for this 1976 bicentennial quarter. Now this one was graded by PCGS at a mint state 62. We are familiar with what's going on here. Now, if you remember, pause the video right now and leave a comment below. What is actually going on with this coin? Why does it look like this? Why is it this small? Leave a comment down below. Pause the video now. I'll give you 1 minute, but let's go into exactly why it's over this much money. So as you remember, this coin again was struck on a 1976 10-cent dime planchet. So the reason I'm showing you this many coins is because it goes to show that this is not a one-off thing. There were multiples of these out there and there's likely more to come in the future. It is possible to come across a coin like this and be able to sell it for money. What you guys need to pay attention to is to make sure that if you find one of these coins, you keep it very safe. You do not damage it because the smallest nick and gash will decrease the value significantly. But again, this PCGS mint state 62 coin that was struck on a 10-cent dime planchet sold for $9,000. $125 for this one little quarter. Now, I do like that they got this one certified by PCGS and it graded so highly at a proof 68. Such a cool coin, and PCGS signified by grading it that the coin is indeed a genuine coin and has some toning that is natural. Remember what I said before, if the toning was not natural, they simply would not have graded it, but they liked it, and because it graded so highly, only 2 points away from the perfect grade of 70, and it has that nice toning on it. Some collectors call this rainbow toning. It sold for a staggering $125 for a single quarter. $15,000 for this 1976 25-cent bicentennial quarter that was overstruck on a 1967 dime. This one was graded by NGCA proof 67. That's such a high grade for this coin, but it got it. Remember to be careful if someone tries to sell you a coin like this. There's a good possibility that they're trying to rip you off, especially if it's a low ball offer. If they say, hey, I'll sell you this coin for $200, you should be very skeptical, because why would they sell it to you for such a cheap amount when they're selling for thousands of dollars online? If that person trying to scam you was to send their coin off to a company like PCGS or NGC, they would waste money and time because the coin would indeed get rejected for being an altered coin. But this example on the screen, what you're looking at is a genuine example. So if you could study a coin like this, you would know exactly what to look for if someone was trying to rip you off, which is the last thing I want to happen to you guys. So again, $15,000 for this coin. And another thing to take into consideration is market trends when you're actually selling the coin. Now, in March of 2020, during the pandemic, people were a bit nervous that the collectible industry would tank really hard. What actually happened was the opposite, surprisingly. For example, in the housing market crash of 08-09, people that invested in coins did really poorly because their investments went down the drain. A lot of people lost money. The point I'm trying to get at is knowing when to sell your coin is important if that's the plan for you. This is not financial advice, but sometimes the longer you hold it, the better, depending on what your long-term goals are. If you want to pass it down to future generations, that's another thing, but this person did pretty dang good because they were able to turn one quarter into $15,000. Another beautiful quarter here. This is a 1976 bicentennial quarter graded by PCGS at a mint state 63 with a rainbow toning. Now, this person knows exactly what's going on here, so far as to say that this coin was in an album, and sometimes these albums are made out of material that can react with the coin, causing it to have this sort of toning. Now, this person looks like a dealer to me, so they probably have bought this coin or found this coin for a few dollars. They got it graded. They spent $15 to $20 getting it graded, and then they sold it for $150 online. I won't spend too much time here, but $9,600 for this coin, or I guess you could say washer. It weighs 0.6 grams. Now, when I see something like this, I can't think of anything else but to shake my head, because how could this not be intentional? There are literally people at the US Mint that are throwing things like like this in the hubs to get struck to be funny like this. Now again, back in the day, they probably didn't think a coin, I keep calling it a coin, but it's a washer, a literal washer. And who knows, maybe this person did this to 100 coins and they're just slowly trickling them out into the market. Now the probability of that actually happening is slim to none, but you never know. $9,600 for this washer, quote unquote, coin that should have never happened. It's actually pretty cool looking. It'd be even more cool if it happened on accident. We'll never actually know if it was intentional or not. But what you really should care about is if you come across anything crazy like this, you're in for a nice little payday because $9,600 for this one. So here's something you got to be careful of. This person says it's a 1976 bicentennial Washington quarters, 20 rolls of circulated coins that are unsearched. So by unsearched, what they're saying is that there could be some rare coins in here. They're saying, I have no idea what's inside, bid at your own risk. To me, you have to be incredibly skeptical because the majority of stuff online is already searched. Even if people say it's not searched, there are people that do this for a living and that's all they do. That's just the reality of it. Unfortunately, there's people out there trying to get us, but we're not going to let that happen, right? That's why we educate ourselves and it's us versus them. We have to do our due diligence to make sure we don't get scammed. Now, there's a slim chance that this is indeed unsearched, but this lot of 20 rolls sold for $302. $5,888 for this 1976S 25-cent silver bicentennial quarter graded by PCGS at a mint state 69. Remember, that's only 1 point away from the perfect grade of 70. Just a beautiful looking coin. When you look at the coin, it almost has no flaws whatsoever, which is the reason why it graded at the 69 grade. Now, when it comes to buying or selling a coin like this, if you have one, you have to keep it very secure. And look, a company like NGC and PCGS, I get this question a lot. Is it safe for me to send my coin to a company like these guys? NGC and PCGS have been around for decades. They know exactly what they're doing. They're highly trusted. They're not going to scam you. You have to trust me on that one. The only thing you do need to watch out for is making sure you know what you're doing and you're sending off a coin that's actually worth getting graded. That's the hard part. But after watching some of my videos, you'll have a better understanding of what you should and should not send. I'll just tell you the truth right now. As always, the majority of the time, it's not going to be worth sending your coin out to get graded. It's a bit of a gamble, honestly, especially if you don't know how to grade. Now, if you're doing this full time, you're really into it, you're collecting, you're dealing, then sure, it can be worth it. Each coin you get graded is a learning lesson. And if you want to do it for fun, that's great. Or if you want the coin in your collection forever, this is a great way to preserve it. But this person was able to turn a 25-cent quarter into $5,888, $6,462.50 for this 1976D, standing for the Denver Mint, clad bicentennial coin quarter, graded by NGC, a mint state 68. Now, another very important factor when it comes to the value of coins is going to be the population. By that, I mean, let's say there's 1,000 coins that are submitted and there's only 3 of them that graded at the 68 grade. If that's the case, there's a population of 3. If there's no coins graded higher than 68, then that means it's a top population coin. Now, why does this matter? Well, there are some people out there that are extremely wealthy and they want to have the best of the best, and they want to say that they have a top pop, as they call it, coin. That means their coin is at the pinnacle and above everyone else. So take that into factor when it comes to getting your coin graded. If you're able to hit a top population coin, you're going to be in a good sitting position because not many people are able to get there. Because this coin graded by NGC at a mint state 68, it sold for $6,462.50. This beautiful coin sold for $6,600. This is a 1976S 25-cent silver bicentennial quarter that graded by PCGS at a mint state 69. Remember guys, 70 is the highest grade, 69 is only 1 point away. If I'm being completely honest, when it comes to any sort of quarter, condition is king. If you combine that with an air, it's even more valuable. Most of these bicentennial quarters are not going to be worth that much money unless they simply grade really high. That's all that really comes down to on a coin like this that sold for $6,600. Here it is, $19,200 for this San Francisco minted coin. It is a silver coin. That means 40% silver, 60% copper. It graded by PCGS at a mint state 69. That's only 1 point away. Now, if you'll notice on the back right hand side of the coin, it's crazy this coin was able to bring this much money and still have that defect on it. To me, what it looks like is a bit of metal that reacted, causing it to have the stain. Or sometimes what chemists will do is they'll put some sort of chemical on the coin to make the coin look really good, and then years down the line that chemical will wear off and something like this will appear. I don't think that's the case here. Either way, it graded so highly and it sold for $19,200. $1,740 for this Denver minted coin. Now you can see it's a Denver minted coin because of that D mint mark at the bottom right hand side of the coin. This one graded by NGC at a mint state 68. Now it does have some orange toning on the coin. It almost looks gold. This can be desirable for certain people that like a coin that looks like this. What you need to know is that this coin graded pretty high at the 68 grade and sold for $1,740. This one got the perfect grade of 70, guys. It is a 1976S proof coin. Now, proof coins do not always bring more money than normally issued coins. That's because some proof coins are simply in better condition. Maybe there's more of them produced versus the normally issued coins. This is a good example of that because it graded at the perfect grade of 70 and it sold for a best offer accepted for less than $250. Now, if the previous coins would have got this perfect grade of 70, it would have nearly double or tripled the value of the coin. This 1976S 25-cent silver quarter graded by NGC at a mint state 67 star. So it's not too often that you see that star designation after the grade. What that means is a grader looked at the coin and they thought the coin looked very nice for the grade, so they went ahead and gave it a star designation. Believe it or not, that star will increase the value of the coin quite a bit. This one has some pretty apparent toning going on the coin. It almost looks burned or dark around the edges. Like I said before, this can be either a positive or negative thing. To me, I'm not the biggest fan, but this coin sold for $372. This no mint mark 1976 bicentennial quarter sold for $205. Now, I do like that the person has the coin in this flap. You can see with the staples all around it. They have a price tag of $2,400. This is a bit scammy to me, honestly. They either don't know or they're trying to rip someone off. Now, what's really important about this holder is if you want to get the coin out, I highly recommend just punching the coin through. That way you don't accidentally scratch the coin with the staples. It's not worth it. Just break it through that plastic. But keeping it in a flapped holder like this will keep the coin safe. It is what I recommend. You don't have to, but I have a supplies link down below. You can check that out. I should have some of these up there, but you don't have to do that. Just find out how to protect your coins. This is a great way to do it. This coin should not have sold for $205. The coin only really should be worth 25 to 50 cents in my opinion. Nothing crazy here. Hopefully no one got scammed because again, $205 for this coin. So I'll just be honest here. When I found this listing, I actually didn't realize there were 3 coins, but this is a great example to show the whole bicentennial set together. What's so cool and unique is that all 3 of these holders have an insert that was autographed by President Gerald R. Ford. That alone is incredibly cool. Such a unique piece of history right here for these 3 coins. You have the bicentennial quarter, the 50-cent piece, and the dollar. All bicentennial series, all signed by President Ford. These 3 coins sold for $517.50. So this 1976D 25-cent bicentennial quarter is actually a DDO, which stands for doubled die obverse coin. Obverse meaning the front of the coin. So it's going to be a little bit challenging to see, but doubling occurs during the minting process. It is considered a variant. It is not considered to be an error, like a one-off thing. That means there's quite a few of them out there before a quality control manager was able to spot it and change the hub. Essentially, how this happens is the hubs strike each other without there being a planchet in the hopper, causing it to have this variant happen on all of these pieces of metal, aka the planchets. What you need to know is that if you see this doubling like this, it's going to be pretty apparent with a microscope or a jeweler's loop, but if you see it, it could be worth good money because this one graded by PCGS at a mint state 65 and it sold for $150. $1,610 for this 1967S coin that was graded by PCGS at a proof 70. What an amazing piece of work this is. This got the perfect grade of 70, guys. That is such a challenging feat, but they did it. These proof coins are typically a bit easier to get this high of a grade in, but it's still a challenge nonetheless. Someone turned a 25-cent coin into $1,610. $28,200 for this 25-cent bicentennial quarter graded by NGC at a mint state 64. Now what actually happened here is you had a 1976 $1 bicentennial dollar and somehow they put it through a hopper that struck a 25-cent design on top of that. Now look guys, I don't know exactly how this happens, whether intentional or not. It's a cool feature. There are people out there that will try to manipulate this and make it look like an error when in reality it's not. A grading company will quickly identify a coin like this to be authentic or not. What you should be doing is keeping your eyes peeled for any coins that look odd like this, because there's a good probability if you have a coin like this, if you do your studying and homework and you look at what's going on here, you could have a coin that's worth a ton of money guys. $28,200 for this one little quarter that's sold online in auction. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll definitely enjoy the video on the screen. Hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one. 37 ultra rare penny coins that are worth a lot of money that you do not want to miss in this video. Listen, a lot of the time, it's typically the smallest little detail on these coins that can mean the difference of a ton of money. This is the only video you'll need for rare coins, so make sure you save it and share it with a friend or family member who you care about. Now this first coin right here sold for $19,200, and here's why. So this coin was graded by PCGS at a mint state 61. Now the highest achievable grade to get in grading is 70. This one's quite far away. Now if it was to be in better condition, it would have brought more money. A thing that you guys really need to pay attention to are coins that are incorrectly struck on a wrong planchet. And by planchet, I just mean the piece of metal that they use at the US Mint where they produce these coins. Now sometimes, regardless if it's intentional or on accident, these coins will get struck on the wrong piece of metal, just like this coin that was accidentally struck on a Philippines Centimo planchet. Now this is the question I get all the time guys, so pay attention. The question is, how do you know if you have one? Well, outside of the fact that the color is completely wrong, this coin does not have a back as we see, and on top of that, the weight of this coin is going to be incorrect. So what you need is to have a scale to weigh your coins. That's one of the most important things when you're looking for errors that could be worth a lot of money guys. If you need a scale, I do have them down in the link below, but you do not need to do that. Let's hop into this next coin. So this coin sold for $63,250, and here's why. So it's important to know that 1909 was the first year they ever started producing the wheat cent penny coins. Before that, they had the Indian cent coins that are indeed genuine, but we'll talk about those at a different time. This one is from 1913, and there is an S mint mark below the date. Now you may be asking, what does that S mint mark actually mean? Well, it means where the coin was actually produced. Your coins can be produced at either San Francisco, Philadelphia, Denver, and sometimes West Point, but that's pretty rare. Now you won't find the West Point or W mint mark on this coin, but San Francisco is a better mint, typically because a lot of the time they simply produce less coins than Denver and Philadelphia, but that's not always the case. Another thing to understand is that San Francisco a lot of the time produces proof coins. Now this is not a proof coin, but I'll show you a diagram of the difference between a regularly issued coin and a proof coin. Now proof coins can be worth more money than normal issued coins, but that's not always the case. What you need to know here is that this coin graded by PCGS at a mint state 66 red. Now what do I mean by red? Well, these penny coins can come in either red, red brown, or brown depending on what the coin was struck on and how the coin changes in color over time. What you need to know is that red coins are typically worth more money than brown and red brown coins, but that again is not always the case. Pay attention if you have a 1913 coin because it could be very rare and valuable, just like this one that graded by PCGS at a mint state 66 and it sold for $63,250. One of my favorite coins here. This one sold for $138,000 guys for this 1999 penny. So a beautiful example. This one graded by PCGS again at a mint state 66 red. So it does have the red color. It did grade pretty highly, only 4 points away from the perfect grade of 70. Now you'll see along the rim of the coin there, it looks like part of the coin is missing. Well, that's true. Part of it is missing. You can see on the left that the L in Liberty is gone and In God We Trust is half cut off. Now you may be thinking, okay, that's the reason why, right? Well, not entirely true. Sometimes there can be a little bit of grease in the hub when striking coins that causes this look. So you may be asking, why did this coin sell for $138,000? Well, it's not until you flip the coin over that you can see that this coin was accidentally struck on a Roosevelt dime reverse. So this is what collectors call a mule coin or a double denomination coin. We all know what a mule is, essentially a donkey plus a horse, and this is a dime plus a penny. penny, so they call it a mule coin. They also call it a double denomination coin because the back is a 10 and the front is a 1. Regardless, you need to be careful because there are people out there that are harmful and scammy, and they will try to cut coins in half, color them, and strike them together to make them appear to be this way. That's why third-party grading companies like NGC and PCGS are so crucial for the success and stability of the hobby, to make sure there aren't bad people doing things like that out there. The good thing about a grading company like NGC or PCGS is they guarantee the grade and authenticity. That means if they accidentally grade a fake coin, they are fully liable for that. Now, keep in mind, these people that are grading your coins are professionals. They do this all day long. They know what to look for, and it's very uncommon for anything fake or altered to get by them. What you need to know is that if you find this coin or anything similar to this, you got to keep it very safe because the condition is so important to the value when it comes to rare coins like this one. I would love to add a piece like this to my collection, but it is way out of my budget, coming in at $138,000. This coin sold for $8,812.50 to bat. Now this one was graded by PCGS at an AU 55. This is a 1943S 1 cent coin. Now this coin looks very beat up and in bad condition, but it's actually at an almost uncirculated grade by PCGS, graded 55. Again, we can see that S mint mark below the date standing for the San Francisco mint where this coin was produced. So as I said before, guys, we got to make sure that we're weighing our coins. When we see a coin like this, we may think that it has environmental damage, which it may have a little bit of, but the big thing here is that producing coins is not a clean process. Sometimes there's a lot of oil and dirt and grease that's involved with coins in general, but the main reason why this coin sold for $8,812.50 is because this coin was accidentally struck on a silver dime planchet. Again, guys, planchet just means a small blank piece of metal that the coin was indeed struck on. You can see this coin looks way too large of a design for the specific planchet, which makes sense because the weight is going to be completely wrong on this 1943 penny. If you have one, let's keep it safe because it could be worth a ton of money, just like this one that sold for $8,812.50. $126,500 for this 1914 wheat cent penny. Remember, 1909 is the first year, and typically the older the coin is, the better the condition it's in, the more money it will bring. Now, one of the first things you might notice on this coin is on the bottom right hand side of the coin, there's a little bit of discoloration. Now, that is what collectors call toning. It's a completely natural process that happens when the air will oxidize with the metals in the coin, changing the color of the coin. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be depending on the eye appeal and the person buying the coin. Now, some toning will look more appealing than others. Essentially, what you need to know is that discoloration like this only really matters on high grade, uncirculated exampled coins. If your coin is beat up and it has toning, that does not really matter, and it will not increase the value for the most part. So this coin does not have a mint mark. That means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Now, the majority of the time, if your coin does not have a mint mark, you typically will see that around the date, especially on wheat coins like this. No mint mark typically means Philadelphia Mint. Now, the interesting thing here is that this coin was produced at Philadelphia, like I said, but it is a proof coin. Now, Philadelphia not oftentimes will produce proof coins. It's typically San Francisco that mints proof coins. What you need to know is that this is indeed a proof coin. I'll show you the difference between the two and what you need to look out for. But essentially, because this coin graded so highly at a PCGS proof 68, and this coin is so incredibly old at this high of a grade, the only way that you could typically find a coin like this is if it was preserved in some sort of collection. But someone hit a payday because this one sold for $126,500, $21,600. So this is actually two coins. I'll just be very brief on these two, but these are 1974 S 1 cent Lincoln coins. Now, these coins were struck with 1973 Panama coins. Now, I do enjoy some world coins like these. I'm not the most knowledgeable about them, but what I do know is that if you have something crazy looking like this, it's going to be worth good money. Now, there are some people out there that will try to manipulate coins, put them together, and then smash them with a hammer to make them appear to be in air, when in reality, you can't really do that because it will look very obvious to someone who knows what they're looking for. What you need to know, guys, is if you find a rare Panama minted coin like this, which is an error, you can have a coin worth a ton of money because these two coins sold for $21,600. This coin sold for $4,321, and here's why. As I said before, 1909 is the first year they ever started producing producing these wheat cent pennies. Now the 1909 comes in 4 different varieties that you need to pay attention to. This one sold on eBay, guys. So if it would have sold somewhere else, it could have brought more money. But essentially you have the 1909, you have the 1909 VDB, you have the 1909S, and then you have the 1909 SVDB. This is the 1909 SVDB variety. Now again, we know what S means, right? That means it was produced at the San Francisco Mint. But what does VDB mean? Well, VDB stands for Victor David Brenner. He's the initial engraver and designer of the wheat cent penny. Now his initials are on the back bottom center of the coin. The US Mint only produced a small quantity of these coins before they realized how distracting his initials were, so they removed them. If your coin has VDB on it, it will increase the value of the coin. This one just so happened to be graded by PCGS at a mint state 65 red brown. Remember the diagram that I showed showing the difference between red, brown, and brown. As I said, collectors will collect all different varieties. Some like collecting just red coins, some like collecting all of them. What you need to know is that this 1909 SVDB coin graded by PCGS at a mint state 65 red brown sold for $4,321. Alright, so this is absurd. This coin sold for $31,200, which is so much money for this coin. So this coin was graded by NGC at a mint state 61. This is indeed a mint error. Now when you first look at the coin, you can tell that the color is off. Now I've had a lot of coins pass my hands in my time, and I've seen coins that look like this because of the color going through some environmental damage. But this coin weighs differently, guys. Remember, the weight of the coin is so important. So this coin was accidentally struck on a Curaçao 25-cent planchet. Now, excuse me if I had any mispronunciation there, but what you guys need to know is that the weight of this coin is incorrect. The color is incorrect. Everything about it is wrong, which makes it appeal to collectors because something like this is incredibly rare and valuable and so hard to find. But all these things combined allowed it to sell for $31,200. $51,750 for this 1993 D 1 cent coin. And now this coin looks a bit similar as a previous coin. You'll notice that there's a ton of toning here. The color is a very orange, vibrant color, which some collectors will pay a premium for. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, as we can see with the D mint mark below the date there. Not going to spend a ton of time on this specific example, but once you flip it over, you'll tell that this is indeed struck with a Roosevelt dime reverse. What you need to know is that if you find one like this, you got to keep it safe, guys, because this one sold for $51,750. This 1972 penny sold for $7,005. Now you have to be very careful because this one that sold on eBay is a bit skeptical to me. When I first look at the coin, the listing doesn't have the best pictures. There's only one bid on the item, and the seller does not have a single feedback, which is a big red flag. This coin, in my opinion, is not worth anywhere near $7,000, but it looks like someone paid for it and bought it because there is one bid on the item and it is a sold listing. But guys, be careful whenever buying or selling coins because there are scammers out there just like this person that sold the coin for $7,000. $15,275 for this 1950 D 1 cent coin. Now this one was graded by PCGS at a mint state 67 plus red with a CAC sticker. Let me quickly and briefly break down everything that I just said so it makes complete sense. So the D below the date there stands for the Denver Mint where the coin was produced. This one was at the 67 plus grade. That plus designation seems like a small detail, but it means a lot because a grader thought this coin looked very nice, so they gave it a plus designation. The plus will result in more money during an auction nearly all the time, so you want a plus if you can get it. I'll show the red diagram again, showing the difference between red, brown, and brown, guys. It is important to know which one you have, especially in a high graded coin. And lastly, this has a CAC sticker. Now, CAC is another third-party company that after you get your coin graded and authenticated, if it's worth it, if it's a high value coin, you want to send your coin off to a company called CAC. They will look at the coin and consider putting their little sticker on the holder if the coin looks good enough. Now, you will not always get the sticker. That's what makes it valuable. But honestly, that sticker alone will dramatically increase the value of your coin because this 1950 D 1 cent coin sold for $15,275. $3,552 for this 1914 D coin. This also has a CAC sticker, as we can see there. This one graded by PCGS at a mint state 63 brown. BN stands for brown. As we know, 1909 is the first year they produced the wheat cent penny, so this one's pretty old. But when it comes to these really old coins, what it really comes down to is the condition. If the condition is really good, that means the value will be high, just like this coin that went in auction on eBay and sold for $3,552. Now, Now, one more thing I want to talk about briefly when it comes to selling your coins is if you want to sell them online, the way to get the most money for them, in my opinion, is not doing an auction unless you're a well-known business that does auctions a lot, but most of us are not that. The best way to make the most money online is to put the coin at a very high price and then bring that price down every week or so. What that'll do is it will weed out the people that want to get a quick buck, and it will try to find the people that are willing to pay the most money for the coin. Now, one thing I want to avoid is you accidentally posting something online when you think it's a rare coin, but it's actually not. That's why understanding the values of coins, knowing how to research is so important. I have a completely free ebook down below. You can get that for free, but you don't have to do that. Just keep doing your homework and research, because again, guys, this one sold for $3,552. $33,600 for this 1930D 1 cent coin graded by PCGS at Mint State 67 plus red with a CAC sticker. Now, when I'm looking at this coin, honestly, it looks like it just came out of the mint. It looks brand new, which is crazy for a coin this old. As we know, this is a D mint mark coin, standing for the Denver Mint. This did get the plus designation, which is a good thing. It also got the CAC sticker. Now, one thing you'll notice on this coin is that it looks like it's a bit struck off center. Now, back in the day, there's a variable acceptance rate that does not make it an error. This is not something that will increase the value whatsoever just because it's a bit misplaced there in the center. The main reason is because, like I said, the high grade, the plus designation, the CAC sticker, and the fact that it's a 1930D coin allowed it to sell for $33,600. So when you're looking at the front of this 1969 coin, you can see there's a lot of excess going on the right hand side of the coin. This coin sold for $4,920. Essentially, the color here is way off. There's multiple errors going on in this coin. What this is called is this was struck on a clad dime blank with early blockage obverse on the reverse of the coin. A bit complicated sounding there, but essentially what you need to really care about is the fact that if your coin looks like this, then you have something very rare. Now, again, there's going to be people that try to replicate this, but you simply cannot do this for multiple reasons. You can't simply put a different colored coat on it and then strike it with a hammer. It will not look like this at all. There are clear defined features of the difference between a coin that is factory damage like this versus after factory damage. You guys got to keep your eyes peeled for something like this, because it could be worth a ton of money, just like this one that sold for $4,920. $34,500 for this 1916 1 cent wheat penny graded by NGC at a proof 67 red. As we said before, typically proof coins are produced at the San Francisco Mint. This one has no mint mark, which means what, guys? It means that this coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Now, you see some small brown speckling there around the coin. That is just a little bit of oxidation happening from the air and the metals reacting with each other. Not a big deal, not something that collectors will want to decrease its value for. But it's pretty simple when it comes to these older coins, guys. I mean, you got to know how to grade the coins, at least looking at condition, get the right lighting, and making sure that you're not missing any big scratches or surface wear on the coin from circulation. This 1916 coin from the Philadelphia Mint, graded by NGC at a proof 67 red, sold for $34,500. $5,163.25 for this 1941 proof Lincoln wheat cent penny, graded by NGC at proof 67 plus red. What a mouthful there, but what a beautiful coin this is, guys. Look at the shiny luster on the coin. This one's only 3 points away from the perfect grade of 70. It has the plus designation as well. Not sure why the seller did this, but the person put $12,500 value in the title and then went ahead and sold it for the $5,163.25. What you need to know, guys, is that if you have a 1941 coin that's shiny like a proof coin and it looks like this, you could be in for a treat, because this one sold for $5,163.25. $36,000 for this 1924 S 1 cent wheat penny, graded by PCGS at Mint State 65 red. Now, one thing that I need to mention is a simple supply and demand thing when it comes to these coins. Depending on which facility minted the coin will dictate how much the coin is worth, in combination with other factors like the condition, the market timing, and other factors like if two collectors get in a bidding war. Certain coins from different mint runs will simply have different numbers of coins produced. Like I said, it's a simple supply and demand thing. If there are less coins produced for a specific mint, that coin coin will have more demand because there are less of them, especially in a very high grade like a 65, which allowed this coin to sell for $36,000. This one also sold for $36,000. This is a 1927S 1 cent coin graded by PCGS at a mint state 65 plus with a CAC sticker. So I won't bore you with too many details because we know what the plus designation is. We know what the CAC sticker means. It just means the coin's really nice with the grade. This one also has a bit of red toning on it, as you can see on the right hand side of the coin. Toning again is a naturally occurring oxidation process that can increase or decrease the value depending on what it looks like for the specific collector collecting it. Some collectors like toning, some don't like it, and some have preferences of if something looks good or bad. It all comes down to their opinion. This 1927 coin was graded very highly by PCGS with the plus designation, and it allowed it to sell for $36,000. $38,400 for this 1969S 1 cent coin. Now this is another coin that I really do enjoy seeing. This one was graded by PCGS at a 63 red with a CAC sticker. Now you can see some clear gashes on the coin. That is from the mint. So when these coins are being produced, they are being thrown around to add other coins through the rough environment of the mint, causing them to have nicks and gashes. But PCGS still realized that this is factory damage and it's still a mint state coin. Now what you need to know on this coin is that there is a doubled die obverse. Obverse means the front of the coin. Doubling happens when the two hubs will strike each other, causing an error on the hub and leaving a large run of coins with doubling on them until a quality control manager sees what's going on and changes out that hub. What you need to know is that if you look at Liberty on the left, the date on the right, and In God We Trust at the top, you'll see some pretty apparent doubling happening there. This coin, because it has a doubled die obverse, sold for $38,400. $43,200 for this 1915D 1 cent coin graded by PCGS at a mint state 67 red. Again, red is typically a more valuable variety when it comes to the red, brown, or brown type coins. This one was struck at the Denver Mint, as you can see with the D mint mark below the date there. Guys, if you find this coin, please do not spend it without finding someone who can actually be trustworthy for you and get the full value of the coin for you. The last thing you want to happen is for you to come across a coin like this and sell it for a few $1,000s, which is still a lot of money, when in reality the coin sold for $43,200. $10,010 for this coin. Now this is a 1943/2S 1 cent Lincoln steel cent coin graded by PCGS at a mint state 67. Now these steel cent coins are typically not worth a lot of money whatsoever, maybe a few bucks at most depending on the condition of the coin. Now the thing is, you got to be careful because these 1943 steel coins can have a rare variant of a double die obverse in the date there, which causes it to be a 1943/1942. So keep your eyes peeled for that. What I recommend is getting a magnifying glass or a USB microscope to help you see if there is a 1943/1942. Now on top of that, you're going to need the high grade, like this person that got a 67 on it, which is a very, very high grade, which is the main contributing factor as to why it sold for $10,010. $45,600 for this 1928S 1 cent wheat penny graded by PCGS at a mint state 66 red with a CAC sticker. So it's really challenging to get a high grade like this in a coin from 1928, but there is that S mint mark. You can see some small little imperfections on the coin. That is simply all natural, or else PCGS would not have graded it at the 66 grade. On top of that, when the person sent it to CAC, they gave it that CAC sticker. Now remember, if you send 20 coins to CAC, you may only get a small handful of stickers back based on how nice the coins look for the grade. Just remember, if you find a coin like this, please keep it very, very safe. You don't want to drop it or damage it or dent it, because it will instantly decrease the value, because this coin sold for $45,600. This coin sold for $86,250. This is a 1969S doubled die obverse coin graded by PCGS at a mint state 63 red. Now again, remember, you can see a lot of these nicks and gashes. They are completely factory, or else the company would not have graded it at a 63. Biggest reason here why it sold for $86,250 is because this is a doubled die obverse coin graded by PCGS. Again, the doubling happens as a variance error that should not have happened, and it came out on a good amount of these coins, specifically from 1969. Now, doubling can happen on different dates, but 1969 and 1955 are very prevalent dates to see very dramatic doubling happen. happening. If you have a doubled die obverse coin like this, you're in for a real treat, guys, because this one sold for 86,250 bucks. I enjoy this coin. This is a 1922 wheat cent penny graded by PCGS at a mint state 65 brown. This one sold for 82,250 bucks. Now you notice I said brown. That's because it falls within the brown category when it comes to the wheat cent pennies. Now this coin should typically have a D mint mark around the date there, but it does not. That means this is a no D variety of the coin. Now if you notice, the coin looks a bit worn down on the front. Well, that's not really the case. It was just a weak strike. If you turn over to the back, you're going to see a very bold strike. This is a known variety for this coin, and it makes it really hard to come across. The thing is, the back of the coin, it needs to have what's called a strong reverse. If it does not, it's not going to be worth anywhere near this amount of money, because again, this 1922 no D strong reverse coin graded by PCGS at a mint state 65 brown sold for $82,250. Remember earlier I was talking about the 1955? Well, here it is. This one graded by PCGS at an AU 58. This one sold for $3,995 bucks. Now this one has the doubled die obverse on it. Like I said before, if this one would have graded a bit higher, it would have brought a lot more money than this. But still, I mean, there's people out there that are able to turn 1 cent into thousands of dollars like this person. Now keep in mind, it is really challenging to find a coin with doubling like this. It is few and far between, but it definitely is possible. So we want to keep our eyes open for any rare coins like this that sold for $4,995 bucks. Here's an interesting one that sold for $5,040. Now this is a 1968 D 1 cent coin. You can see immediately that there's something going on with Lincoln's face there. This is what's considered to be a misprint error. It was accidentally overstruck on a Panama 1 cent coin. A good way to tell if you have this coin is if you weigh it, it's going to weigh off. It'll weigh 3.1 grams, whereas a typical 1968 coin should not weigh that much at all. If you have one, it could be incredibly rare and valuable because this one sold for $5,040. Big one here. This one sold for $149,500 for this 1926 S 1 cent coin. And now this one was graded by PCGS at a mint state 65 red. Typically these older coins are really hard to come by, especially in high grades like this. This is a relatively older sale, but it really depends on the market conditions for a coin. For example, you don't want to be selling your coins at a market low, like during the crash of 08-09. You want to be selling your coins right before a crash so you get the most money possible. Now, before the virus in 2020, we thought the collectibles market was going to go down dramatically, but it actually did the opposite. People were nervous, so they put money into collectibles. This may be the same case in the future, that people start wanting to put money into collectibles, but we're not really certain for sure. All you got to know, guys, is that if you have a 1926 S wheat cent penny, it could be worth good money because this one sold for $149,500. I won't spend too much time here, but this is an Indian cent penny coin from 1864. It is indeed genuine. They first started producing these in 1859 and stopped producing them in 1909. This one has a very beautiful color, luster, and eye appeal from the toning happening on the coin. This is indeed a proof coin graded by PCGS 65 red and brown. If you have one, keep it safe because this one sold for $161,000. I won't spend too much time on this coin, but this one sold for $126,500. Now, this is a 1969 S coin. You can see the toning on the top left-hand side of the coin. As we know, that's completely normal and natural. That can influence the value sometimes when it comes to these coins. What you need to know is that in this specific instance, it did not matter as much at all. What really matters is the doubling that's happening on the date at the bottom right, Liberty at the left, and the motto "In God We Trust" at the top there. If you have all three of these going on, you could have a coin worth a lot of money because this one sold for $126,500. $258,500 for this coin. This is a 1909 VDB coin graded by PCGS at a proof 67 plus red and brown with a CAC gold label. What a mouthful there, but you can see the colors here are very abstract, and that's from the toning of the coin. This is relatively seen as a positive toning that will increase the value. Next, for a coin from 1909, 67 is a pretty much impossible crazy grade to get. There's no reason why this coin sold for so much money. Now, if you want to find one of these coins, the toning is not going to matter unless it's in really high grade. The best way to probably find a coin like this will be at a collection or at a yard sale or something like this. VDB, remember on the back bottom center of the coin stands for Victor David Brenner, the initial engraver and designer of the coin. Remember earlier I said the collectors will collect red, brown, and brown coins? Well, this one's a red and brown, and it has some beautiful rainbow toning going on with it, which allowed this coin to sell for $258,500. $114,000 for this coin. I'll be very brief here because we went over a few of these already, but essentially 2001D coins you got to keep an eye out for. Regardless of all this brown dotting going on, you're going to notice that once you flip it over, this is indeed a Roosevelt dime reverse coin. So make sure that your coin is actually not glued together and painted on. Getting it certified by a company like NGC and PCGS makes the most sense when it comes to a coin like this. You're in for a jackpot if you find one, because this coin sold for $114,000. $408,000 for this coin. So I'll be very brief. Again, this 1944 coin, typically 1944 will have a different color on the coin. They won't look steel like this, but essentially this coin was accidentally struck on a zinc coated steel planchet graded by PCGS MSA 66 with a CAC sticker. So what you need to know is that during the war efforts, they needed bronze for ammunition, so they transitioned into the zinc coated steel planchets, which everyone thinks are rare, but in reality they're not. Now they are rare if you find one that's from 1944, because they should not have ever gone on the 1944 coins. If you find this coin, you're in for a real treat, guys. Make sure you keep it very safe. Do not damage it, because $408,000 for this coin is what it sold for. Not going to spend too much time on this coin, but this is an 1856 1-cent coin graded by PCGS at a proof 67 plus with a CAC sticker. This is what collectors call a flying eagle cent coin. They are indeed genuine. Most of them are not worth anywhere near $240,000, but because this is a monster grade, it's in such great condition. It has good eye appeal, it has nice toning. It sold for $240,000. $504,000 for this 1943 coin. Now, essentially, this is the reverse of that other coin I showed you. This coin, this 1943 coin, should have been struck on a zinc-coated steel planchet, but it was accidentally struck on a bronze planchet graded by PCGS at a Mint-State 63 brown with a CAC sticker. There are a lot of counterfeits out there of this coin, so if you have one, look at this example on the screen and do diagnostic checks comparing the two. But even then, you want to get the opinion of multiple people before you try to sell your coin, because you don't want to be wasting time trying to sell a fake coin when in reality it's worth nothing. Either way, we know this coin that sold for $504,000, and keep your eyes peeled for it. I'm just going to show a few more examples of lower graded condition ones. This one graded by PCGS at a Mint-State 62 brown. Same deal here, accidentally struck in a bronze planchet. This one sold for $372,000. This one really quick is a 1909 VDB coin that sold for $12,995. Essentially, this one was accidentally cleaned. That was a big mistake on their part, because that really decreased the value of the coin. It is indeed unk, which means uncirculated, but there are details of it being cleaned. So again, this beautiful 1909 coin with no mint mark sold for $12,995. This coin sold for $840,000. Now the biggest reason why is we know this is a transitional coin that was accidentally struck on a bronze planchet graded by PCGS, a Mint-State 64 brown. The biggest thing on this coin is the grade and the market conditions. I mean, this coin was sold at a time when collectibles were going through the roof, and there was probably a few collectors that had a bidding war against each other for this coin, and that's the main reason why this coin sold for $840,000. If you enjoyed this video, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.